Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey here, once again with another video on The Flash Season 5, and this is going to be my review for Episode 4 of this season, otherwise entitled News Flash. But of course, before we get into the rest of the video, spoiler alert, if you've not watched the episode, go watch it, come back to this video later on because we're going to be talking about the major points of this episode. But if you are continuing on with the video, be sure to drop a like on the video to show your support for The Flash, and if you enjoyed this episode and all of that, let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this episode. What'd you like? What didn't you like? Just give me your general opinions down there. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. So obviously last episode we had the big Death of Vibe episode where we dived into some more stuff with Cicada, Nora as well, and we had Cisco dying for like 2 seconds and reappearing, and essentially he goes away for this episode. He goes to his parents' house, I think, so I thought I'd get that out of the way early for people wondering why Cisco wasn't in the episode and you maybe didn't hear about it in the episode. He went to his parents' house to like recover. I think that's the actual terminology that they used. But just quickly, before we jump into this review, I want to thank everyone that gave me nice messages after my hospital visit, after my surgery. I forgot to mention this last week. I thought I'd mention it now because I forgot because I'm an idiot. So thank you to everyone that left me nice messages on either YouTube, Twitter, or Instagram or anything like that. It's greatly appreciated. I don't know how much it means just to get those nice words, whether it's one word or a paragraph or an essay, either or. So thank you to everyone that did that. But we start off this episode by going back to the night of the Enlightenment, so the season 4 finale, and I was like, okay, when this was happening, there was two things going through my head. It was either going to be set up for the villain for this episode, or maybe something to do with Cicada, and really when it comes down to it, it has something to do with Cicada, but not directly in regards to what we're watching. So what we see is Spencer Young, or Spin, getting closer to the incident, the satellite incident in regards to all that, because she's a social media person. She's vlogging, she wants to get all of it done, and get the head-hitting story because she wants to get some publicity and become famous. Unfortunately, she gets herself in some danger, but is actually rescued by Nora, or Excess, but her phone is actually damaged, and we get this explained later on, but essentially her phone is the one that's targeted by dark matter from the satellite and all of that. So she doesn't become a metahuman herself, her phone does. And that is essentially the source for her powers in this episode. But in regards to that opening scene, we start off the episode like in regards to the storyline, like present day, with a breakfast scene with which was pretty funny. It was very similar to maybe like last season when we had, actually, does every season we have a breakfast scene? Because I think season 3 had it, season 4 had it, maybe season 1 and 2 did as well. Season 3 was like Barry making it for Cisco. Season 4 was Barry making it for himself and maybe Iris as well. But in this episode, for this season, we have Iris making it, and she doesn't know how to cook. She doesn't know how to make toast, so like, fair enough, pancakes can be maybe hit and miss with some people. I make really good pancakes, if anyone wanted to know. But, yeah, toast? And if she even, like, sort of failed at chopping up a banana, which was strange. But anyway, so a bit of a failed breakfast scene there, which is obviously for comedic effect. But really, even though this was meant to be like a sort of like a comedic scene, still some tension between Nora and Iris. And that was like a real anchor point for this episode. Like, there was a big thing going on throughout the whole episode and sort of not weighing it down, but just being like a heavy thing going on throughout the episode, and this is basically the seed of it all for the episode. Now, we've seen in the promo images, I don't think it was in the trailer at all, it might have been quickly, but in the promo images we did see them playing softball. So we had the softball scene, and Barry just sucks because he can't use his powers, so he can't tap into the Speed Force for anything he's doing here. So we're seeing Barry as Barry, like Barry what he was like before he got his powers, and thank God he became the Flash, because Barry just sucks. Like, he just sucks completely. But it is at this softball scene where we get our first taste of Spin using her abilities, when Nora is controlled by Spin to go and stop the bomb that was being brought in by a fellow cop who was also controlled by Spin. So it's a double Spin controlled scene, if that makes sense, and throws the bomb in the air, it explodes. That guy gets in trouble, but Excess is applauded, but also hits the news as the new speedster in Central City. So now she's affecting the timeline even more thanks to Spin. Will they refer to that? Probably not. I was just thinking throughout the episode, I was like, okay, well now it's like even more evident that there's another speedster here. There's photos of her. Is this going to affect the timeline? Is that going to be in the Flash Museum in the future? It should be. It should be affecting the timeline. Hopefully we see it in the episodes to come. But essentially Spin is doing this through her app, essentially, but it's through her headlines in her app. So it can be through the app, we read the headline and go, oh, okay, what's that? And then you get controlled by it. Or she can literally flick it up on a screen or anything like that where you can look at it and be like, oh, and then you get hypnotized by it and controlled. Basically, her powers are like Gorilla Grodd. It's basically like it's almost like mixing Kilgore from last season and Gorilla Grodd, or just making it like a new age Gorilla Grodd. I did see people trying to compare it to like Rainbow Raider and stuff like that. It's nothing like Rainbow Raider. Rainbow Raider affects your emotions, so you're actually in control. You actually know what you're doing. But with this, you go into it and you come out of it. You don't remember what you're actually doing throughout it. So we see it with Barry when he goes to Vegas. He just remembers being at CCPN, and then he ends up in Vegas. He doesn't remember the in-between, and similar to Nora when she gets controlled there, she remembers looking at her phone and then being on the softball pitch after the bomb's gone off. So it's basically Gorilla Grodd. That's basically what it is, the powers. Now we had Ralph and Sherlock having their own sort of side story for this episode. We started off with them going to the docks, which was the fight scene. Then we saw Team Flash of Cisco, Ralph, and the Flash take on, I guess Nora as well, take on Block as well as Cicada for the first time. And it basically leads them, or it leads them to like finding like some sort of like residue from a mask, which leads them to a chemical factory. I think it was. It was like some weird name. It was like Shirk. It was like a Zerk or something. Zerk Chem. So it's like a chem factory or a chem warehouse, and that's actually where Cicada works. But it's not that easy to pinpoint who has the mask, because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of employees that would wear that exact same mask, because every different plant around the country wears the exact same mask. So it's going to be hard to pinpoint exactly who it is just from that mask itself, but it does lead them down a different path that lets them pinpoint exactly what's going on with Cicada. Now, one of the points in this episode, which I thought was good that they did cover, because I thought it would have been weird if Iris was going after this girl and they didn't really point this out. So we have a scene between Spencer Young, or Spin, and Iris in Jitters. And, Iris is going to Spencer to basically, like, stop all of this and stuff like that. And Spencer brings up, is like, well, this is basically what you were doing in Season 1 with The Flash. Like, you got a name for yourself. You grew your blog by following The Flash. And what Spencer Young was doing is just following the new speedster. So that's basically the same thing. And it basically does shut Iris up. But I thought it was good that they put that in, because it was one thing I was worried about. I was like, okay, are they going to cover this, or are they going to ignore it? Because they've done that in the past with the show, with certain characters trying to stop things that they themselves have done and been either applauded for it or just gotten away with. So it was good that they did cover that in this episode. And thought it was good. And it was something I was worried that they wouldn't cover. But one of the big reveals for this episode, and we were all wondering, this is basically one of Nora's mysteries revealed. So this is a mystery and a secret that Nora was keeping. And we find out, what's necessary, not exactly what's going on, because there could be more to it that we might find out in future episodes. This might not be the only issue that Nora has with Iris. But we find out that Iris, in the future, puts a power dampening chip inside of Nora. It's just not like something like, oh, it's a bracelet or something it's a power dampener in the disguise of a bracelet or some earrings or a ring or something like that. It's a thing implanted in Nora's body. So like there's an incision, the chip's been in there, and that's Nora hasn't had her powers until 6 months ago. 6 months ago was when she first took out the power dampener chip and access to the Speed Force. It was that recent. So no wonder she seems like so amateur with what she's doing. It's because she basically is a new speedster. Which does make you think, would she be able to run back in time perfectly to this point in time? Maybe someone's helping her in the future. You have to think so. I don't think she'd be that perfect. You'd have to think maybe someone in the future might be maybe assisting her with her speedster powers. Get my drift? I don't know. I'm not going to hint too much at that, but we might see that in the episodes to come. But yeah, you can understand why Nora was so pissed, because basically Iris was just keeping back something that really belonged to her. It was a part of her, and she was just keeping it away from her. But we do find out that through a Caitlin and Sherlock scene, where we had Sherlock scaring the living crap out of Caitlin by putting the mask on and breathing heavily, we find out that Cicada actually has a lung issue, which obviously is going to have something to do with him being stabbed most likely. So that's why he's the heavy breathing is so synonymous with Cicada the character. Like everyone else that's working in that chem factory wouldn't be breathing and sounding like Cicada. He would, because he's got the lung issue. Obviously, we had the big scene that's in the trailer, which is the stadium scene with Excess trying to kill the Flash. Once again, that's tied to the headlines being the thing that controls people. So Nora's controlled by excess kills Flash, and that's what she tries to do. The thing that was a bit, I did see a lot of people complaining about this, and I think it was silly, like Iris stopping Nora by shooting her. However, it was stupid but necessary. Like Iris had to be the one that stopped Nora in this episode, because like if like Ralph did it or Sherlock did it or Caitlin did it, wouldn't have had much significance, but Iris doing it allowed for something later in the episode, which we'll jump into in a second, play out a bit better, like in regards to a narrative. So Iris had to be the one that did it. It was stupid, like the whole like jumping through the breach and, you know, sniping her with the power dampener, but, you know, it was necessary. But yeah, we do find out that Cicada was actually created by debris caused by Nora punching the satellite, which we've been saying on this channel for ages. I'm sure everyone's going to be writing like, oh, Pagey, you said that. And like, yeah, I did. I said that a while ago. Been saying it constantly for the past, like, what, month or two? That's what's happened. But it really leads on to the explanation that you could tell throughout the episode that's what it was. That it was meta tech. It wasn't actually Spin that had the powers. It was her tech. But we do, like, that's the show's way of, like, clearly telling the audience that still realized it, that it's not the people that have the meta, that are the meta powers and dark matter through them. It's actually pieces of technology or tools that can have dark matter through them as well. And they do see all like the cool effects on the back of Spin's phone, which is very similar to Cicada's dagger. So you have to think the shard that, you know, hits Cicada is the dagger and all that, which it obviously will be. And we'll see that in the coming episodes, and they might dive deeper into all of that. It is going to be interesting to see what other pieces of like Metatech like show up this season. Like, is there going to be like a rubber ducky or something with Metatech? God knows what a rubber ducky with dark matter would be like. I'm already scared. Don't even want to think about it. But there's a lot of possibilities and a lot of options they have for this season in regards to that premise. But really what it highlights is that anyone is a threat now. Not just metahumans, anyone is a threat. So, and it's not going to be easy for them to just like use a scanner to find metahumans. Anyone and anybody can just be a threat. It could be like a 2-year-old with a rattle that could be affected by dark matter. God knows what shaking that rattle could do. But we do get that very emotional and very well acted scene by both Candice Patton and Jessica Parker Kennedy in the recovery bay, I guess it is, of Star Labs, where they're going over what was revealed, you know, the whole power dampening thing. And Nora is just thinking about, Nora's talking about the power dampening scene and the actual power dampener, but Iris is thinking about when she shot her and stole her powers in regards to that, so there's already confusion there. But essentially, Nora says that Iris is a control freak. The biggest issue with this is Barry. Like, I can't believe Barry came in and just went straight up, oh no, I support Iris. I thought, surely there'd be some sort of like thinking about like, was that correct? Like, you think Barry would think just how Nora's feeling, you know? Like, I think that's being a bad father, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying he should have been like, stuff you, Iris, you're moving out of the loft. Nothing like that. However, I'm just surprised it was so quick in regards to Barry, like, oh no, I side with Iris. You know, you think Barry would have thought through and just thought how Nora was feeling. So I completely understand why Nora would be like, stuff this, I'm going somewhere else. I can completely understand that. Will they dive into that in future episodes? You would hope so, because I thought it was a really just quickly made decision by Barry. Now, I'm not saying he made the wrong decision. I'm just saying he made his decision up really, really quickly. Now, I understand we're at the end of the episode, but still, it just felt weird to me. Like, I know Barry's technically not a father yet, and this is his daughter from the future, and Barry's still young and might not be in that fatherhood mentality. I just thought it was a weird decision. I don't know if that was just me. But the weird scene was at the end when we see Cicada going home. Now, the first thing I need to say is, did Cicada move? Because remember the end scene that we were meant to get last season that we saw in the trailer from Comic-Con? He lived in an apartment. So maybe he moved from the apartment because it reminded him of his family or something. I know he's in a house now, so unless he, I don't know, whatever. Maybe apartment 4, maybe that was apartment 4 and just opens up into a big house or something. Who knows? But anyway, he's getting super strength, but it's still like affecting him. So I have to wait and see what that means going forward. Pretty random that he's getting super strength, unless like him getting, it's like slowly affecting him. Maybe it's changing him into a metahuman. I don't know. Or maybe it is a saying that like when he attacks people with a dagger and it does draw the power, maybe he is gaining that power like he does in the comics. We'll have to wait and see. They'll have to explain that in episodes to come. But that was a scene that's probably just going to lead on into something else, obviously. But overall, this was a really solid episode. I think it's arguably the best episode of the season. Like, nothing was really like, wow, this is stupid. Maybe apart from Iris shooting Nora. But as I said, it was stupid but necessary. It had to be done. Like, that had to play out in that way. Yeah, so I think this is basically, this or episode 1 were probably the best episodes. Like last week was good, but I still think like episode 1 was probably the best episode of the season. I don't know. Episode 2's been the only one that was like meh, just like filler meh. Episode 1, 3, and 4 have been basically the same, so it's sort of hard to like judge which one's better. I think they've all been around the same level, like maybe like an 8 out of 10. We're obviously still waiting for that like knockout of the park episode for this season of The Flash, but a lot of them have been like, well, 1, 3, and 4 have been about an 8, maybe 8.5 if you're feeling generous. So really solid episode, and I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see where this goes forward. One thing to point out, no Flash next week because US elections, so we have a week break. Flash is back November 13th. I know it sucks, but it's the Ragdoll episode, so yeah, it's going to be creepy. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on what we went over in this video and what you thought of this episode of The Flash. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.